Hey guys, Mrs. Chester here. I was waiting for the little red square that tells me I'm on again. Yeah, I was going to make something for Father's Day. I was going to go into this whole thing about my father, and I said, nah. And then I spent the majority of this week going through stuff about terrible things that happen in other places. I just came back from my first visit to the chiropractor slash nutritionist. This person was recommended to me by my friend Patty, and I'm extremely hopeful about this. I have suspicions that my knees are not as degenerative, are not as crappy as I would think they are, and it's basically the muscles around them. So the doctor did his little punch thing. He doesn't do manipulation. He was doing this little punch thing to loosen things, and he did one back here. I said, I feel like a cow. You know, they shoot them in the head with a bolt to stun them when they kill them. So this article, this story, this chapter is all about potential lemonade. And since he's a slash nutritionist, I said to myself, "Ooh, maybe he can give me a, I hate to use the word diet plan, but a diet plan." Most people, they say they want to do this and they find they're not willing to go through with it. And I go, yeah, doctor, I am ready. I have never in my life asked a doctor for a nutrition plan. So hopefully I can get like 30 pounds down by the end of the summer and relieve some of the pressure off my knees. So the lemons are becoming lemonade. Reading this week about some really egregious things happening in the world, about some people in India who were charged with sedition for cheering on the Pakistani cricket team. Now, personally, I don't understand why they even bother with cricket since it's a colonial sport, but evidently they get really pissed if people cheer when India loses. I also read another interesting fact about India, that every hour a student commits suicide because of the academic pressure. Could you just imagine that happening here? Well, we have a lot fewer students, so probably it would be blamed on something the Democrats did. And what else? Well, the whole Grenville Tower fire, which is being made pretty quiet here because, after all, they were only Muslims, right? And people are taking selfies in front of this burnt out hulk where at least 80 people have died. And yeah, the UK, is this Mrs. Chester's UK bash? I may as well do a little more UK bashing. Why do people bother with the royals? Why? And there was another thing about the royals, let me think. Oh yeah, well, this is actually another thing happened in the UK, that a woman died from injuries inflicted over a punctured football, which is what we would call a soccer ball. A neighbor somewhere in the UK was upset that the kids from next door, their football kept coming over and over the fence, so she grabbed it one day and took a knife to it, thus prompting the mother and grandfather of the children in question to go next door and beat the crap out of this woman. The woman suffered 5 broken ribs and died from subsequent bleeding around the heart. And then we have that, is it Penn State? Another horror story involving a fraternity, a drinking hazing, where basically a student was poisoned by alcohol and they spent hours ignoring him, laughing at him, finally Googling, what do you do when the extremities get cold? Yeah, it's a sick, sad world, but we don't have to be part of it. We can soldier on, make our lemonade, and do our best to stop things like this from happening, like this whole healthcare under the cover bill. We can make changes. We can make changes. It can be done. First of all, don't beat your neighbors up so they die. Second of all, don't charge. Could you imagine that? Like, if the Mets won and Yankee fans were charged with sedition. When you're charged with sedition, at least in India, you can't get a government job. You lose your passport. We did have a Sedition Act. I looked this up. We had a Sedition Act in 1918 after the Great War, which we thought would end all wars, and that carried heavy penalties, heavy prison fines. But it was gotten rid of in 1920 when all the we had hoped all the war problems were past. Now, of course, now that we are in bellum perpetuum, and we're sending more troops to be traumatized, I wouldn't be surprised if sedition starts cropping up in our lexicon of things to do to lefties. It's 5 minutes and 37, 38, 39, 40, 41 seconds into Mrs. Chester's video, and I was trying to make it start hopeful. Didn't turn out that way. If I can find the links about what I read, I will include them below. In the meantime, I want you guys to have a good weekend. I have a couple of events planned for the weekend, and maybe I'll talk about them next week. This chiropractor thing, I'm going to be going once every 6 weeks, and we'll tell you what that happens, what that entails. And thanks for listening. While I move my cursor around to turn off, I feel like belching. I didn't have any lunch, and the chiropractor happens to have his office right across from this humongous cemetery out in Long Island, a Catholic cemetery called Holy Sepulchre. And every time I see it, I think, Holy Sepulchre, Batman! And on that note, I'm wishing you a good weekend. We're supposed to be having rain and hail after 3 o'clock, and it is 3:03, so maybe I should close the windows. Bye-bye.